First video-based lesson. It'll take around 10-15 minutes for me to explain a few little tasks for you to do, and then I'm going to give you all this week and next week to complete the last task, which is really important, which I'll explain at the end. The reason why I've chosen this lesson to be a video-based lesson is the hardest topic that we do cover. Now, it's a topic that's on both the exam. It's the only topic we haven't covered yet in the exam, and it's also in your first coursework. So it's a very important topic. So it's important that I can kind of talk you through it and we work through it together. And it's on finances and what we call break even. So first, there's a few key terms and formulas I want you to get down before we move on. So first one is sales revenue. So sales revenue is the money coming into the business. So we work that out by two things: the price that we charge and how many that we sell. So if we sell something for £1 and we sell 10 of them, our revenue is £10. So obviously it all depends on how many you sell and the price that you sell. If the price or the number of sales go up, your sales revenue goes up. Variable. Per unit. It is just what is per item. So if you sell cars, it's per car. If you sell hats, it's per hat. If you sell mobile phones, it's per mobile phone. The item, it's the revenue that you make, so how much you make per sale, plus the total costs to make that product. So revenue, take away the total cost. Then there's overall profit, which is the total revenue. So if you sell 100 of whatever you're selling, it's the total money that you make from that 100, take away the total cost of that 100 that you've sold. So if you're in a couple of minutes to get those down, obviously just pause me and have a go at that. There's a few sums I want to have a go at now. Now, they're very simple and you can use a calculator if you need. So in any maths question in a business exam, you can use a calculator for. There's no rules whatsoever about calculators. So we're looking at the sales revenue, so weekly revenue for these three made-up businesses. And there's an extension at the end for you to make your own up. So to work out revenue, we need two things: how many we sell times by the price. So I'll do number one with you, and then number 2 and 3, I want you to pause and have a go at yourself. So number one, if the bookshop in a week sells 400 books, so to pause me now and have a go at number 2 and 3, and then as an extension, make up your own. You can be a real business or a made-up one. How many they sell times by the price that they sell their product at. So hopefully you had a go at that and you pause me. So the answers are, as I said, 4,000 for number 1. Number 2 was 5,250, and number 3 was 1,495,000. So hopefully you got that right. It should have been quite simple, especially with the calculator. Some more sums for you to do. And again, I'll do number 1 with you, and then you can pause me for number 2 and 3, and again, extension to make your own. So looking at profit per unit and overall profit this time. So number 1, the bookshop. We know that they sell 400 a week at £10 each. Now, I've added a sentence here to say each book, £8 it costs for them to make. So per unit is money coming in, £10 per unit. Take away money going out per sale, which is £8. So it must cost £8 to make the materials, the staffing for that book. So £10 take away 8 is £2. That's profit per unit. It's an overall profit. It's that £2 that we worked out times by how many we sell. So 2 times by 400 that we sell. Then the overall profit per week will be £800. So profit per unit £2, overall profit per week £800. So let's have a go at number 2 and 3, please, so you can pause me now. Right, so hopefully you had a go at that and hopefully you got these right. The answers are, for question 2 is £2.50 per unit profit, and then the overall profit was £1,750, and then number 3, £23 per unit, and then £529,000 overall profit. So, as I said earlier, costs can be two things. They can be fixed or variable. Now, I'm going to use the example of hats, which is on our coursework. So, fixed costs do not change with output. Oh, didn't do that. Put that back on. Do not change with output. So, output is how many we make or how many we sell. So, if we make 1 hat or 100 hats, our rent in the property we use will not change. So if the rent is £500 a month, whether we make 1 hat or sell 1 hat, or we make 1,000,000 hats and sell 1,000,000 hats, the rent will still stay the same because a fixed cost does not change. However, variable costs will change with how many we make or how many we sell. So if we make 1 hat, we'd need to buy materials and packaging and transport costs for that 1 hat, which won't cost much. However, if we sell 1,000,000 hats, we'd have to buy more materials, we have to spend more on transport costs, we have to spend more on packaging because there's more to package and more to transport and more to make. So they will change with output, how many we sell and how many we make. And the total cost is just those two things added together, your variable and your fixed costs. So examples of fixed costs: rent, that doesn't change. How many we sell, or how many we make. If we've got a loan and we repay that, that'll stay the same every month no matter what. Insurance costs will stay the same, and staff salaries. So if we pay a staff member £2,000 a month, for example, that will stay the same whether our business sells 1 hat or 1,000,000 hats. However, as I discussed, packaging, stock, raw materials, transport, they will all change depending on how many we need because of how many we make and how many we sell. So variable costs will change with output. So we'll bear that in mind. They are mainly fixed costs, or they are fixed costs. Rent, insurance, telephone bills, staff costs, they won't change. If Cluster Cakes sell no cakes or 1,000,000 cakes, they will still have to spend £500 on rent and so on. On the right-hand side, they are variable costs because they will change if we make and sell more cakes. So per cake, it's 10p for flour. So it costs us 10p if we make 1 cake. If we sell 2 cakes, it'll cost us 20p in flour, and so on. So they will change with how much we make and sell. So to work out number 1 and 2, don't number 3 and 4 just yet, just 1 and 2. So work out the total fixed and total variable costs for Clarissa Cakes. You can pause me now. So hopefully that should be nice and simple with the calculator. So fixed cost should have been 1,370 and variable should be 50p per unit per cake. So now we need to work out what the total cost of those two added together are if we sell 100 or 1,500 cakes. Because right now we've worked out if we sell 1 cake, it's those two added together. However, if we sell 100, the fixed cost will not change. So do not change that no matter how many we're selling. However, that would change. The variable cost does change. So if we sell 100, it'll be 100 times by the variable costs because we need 100 of that to make the cake. So 100 times by 50p and then add that, the total to that, onto fixed cost, and that will be total cost, and do exactly the same for number 4, but for 1,500. Again, I'll let you pause it and then have a go at number 3 and 4. Right, hopefully you got that one right again. So number 3 is £1,420 because it should have been £50 variable cost for 100 cakes, so 100 times by 50p, which then means we add that onto the fixed, which is obviously gives us a total of 1,420. For 1,500, that should be £750 variable cost. So that added on to the fixed costs will get us a total cost of 2,120. Right, last thing we're going to go through is break even. So break even is when the costs and the revenue, so I'm going to go in and out, are exactly the same. So they make enough revenue to cover the costs. So diagrams show you if the fixed costs and variable costs are up, obviously make up the total costs. If the sales revenue overlaps that and goes past that, we make a profit. However, if exactly the same, fixed and variable costs make up total, but it's just short our sales revenue, we make a loss. However, if our total costs are exactly equal to our sales revenue, then that is break even, because our sales revenue and our costs are exactly the same, they are even. So profit, we make more revenue than costs. Loss, we make less revenue than costs. Break even, which is the key bit today, is revenue and costs are exactly the same. So businesses look to work out how many they need to sell to at least break even, to at least not lose money. And that's the formula for it. So you might need to pause this and just write that formula down. I will show it in future slides when you're working things out, but that's a really important for getting your exam as well when you answer these questions. So there's two businesses there, Cupcakes and Co on the left, Hooper's Hot Dogs on the right. So what you need to do is work out the break-even point for those two businesses. And the formula's there, total fixed cost, divided by your selling price unit per unit, take away variable costs. So you might want to work out the bottom part first, then you get your fixed costs divided by whatever the difference is between those two. So Cupcakes and Co are fixed costs, so we need to work out a total of that. So it's things like rent, insurance, website fees. Obviously, our variable cost per unit are there per K. And same for hot dogs. Our fixed costs, things like petrol, wages, van pitch fee, so how much it costs them to park the van, whether before they sold a hot dog, all those things won't change. Water rates, and then obviously those three will change depending on how many they sell. So we need to pause it and see if you can work out how many those two businesses need to sell to break even. Right, so the answers are Cupcakes and Co. Their fixed cost was £300 and then their selling price was £160, take away 60p. Selling price was there, obviously. That gets £1 for that part of the equation. So it's 300 divided by 1. So they need 300 to break even. On the right-hand side, the hot dogs, fixed cost was £235. Selling price, £150 here. Take away 35p per hot dog. So £1.15. So then it's 235 divided by 1.15. So they need to sell 205 hot dogs to break even. If they sell less than 205, so 204 or less, they would make a loss. If they sell 206 or more, they'll make a profit. So before I give you a task, last thing we need to know for break even is the advantages and disadvantages. So the advantages are, firstly, it will show the business how many they need to sell to break even. So without doing this, you don't know how many you need to sell. So the hot dog company knows how many they need to sell to ensure that they don't make a loss. And that feeds into the next point, which is the most important point. I've got it in bold. It makes you work out and assess the risk, whether it's worth selling the product or not. If the break-even point is too high and unrealistic, there's no point selling the product. If it's nice and low and realistic, you do it because you know you can break even. But it's important to do it before you start selling the product, so you can work out before you start selling it if it's going to be realistic to break even and not make a loss. It can also inform the business on what price to charge, because you can change the price depending on what you find out. You might find out that the price is too high, making it unrealistic, so you might have to bring it down. However, the break-even point might be really easy, so you put the price up to make it a little bit harder, and so on. Disadvantages, sudden changes can cause the whole graph to be wrong. So it takes into account costs. So for example, if material costs change, so for the hats, if the supplier that supplies the Velcro for your hats says we're charging you double now, the whole formula then changes. Because because you're spending more money, you need to sell more then to break even. If there's a promotion on your products, again, the graph will be inaccurate. So if you decide to an offer of 25% off, your graph and your break-even point will be worked out on full price. So if you do anything like that, it's harder to work out exactly how many you need to break even. And lastly, you're only predicting whether it's realistic or not. So there's nothing to say it's an absolute fact. So it's all a prediction. So your task then, which I'm going to give you, like I said, this week and next week to do, so you take your time. Now this work will be copied and pasted into your coursework and will also help with your exam. So it will save you loads of time. So please take your time and get this right, because next year you'll be thankful that you did that. So first thing you need to do I need to define fixed costs and give examples, and then define variable costs and give examples. After that, what I need to do is some work on break-even. So I need to say what break-even is, and I put in bold here, I need to explain 2 reasons, so 2 advantages, why it's used. So using the advantages I've given you, doing PEA paragraphs, so point, explain, analyse the impact, explain 2 of those with PEA to why it's important. If you do that, you'll get top marks. The last little bit you need to do is a little part on what might change the break-even point. So I'll explain the 2 things that could cause a change in break-even. So that's costs, money going out, if costs change, and also money come in. If you change the price of your product, then that will change the break-even point. So I should then explain that, why those 2 things and how those 2 things could change the break-even point. Hopefully you've understood that. If you've got any questions or any worries, obviously you know you can email me. But you've got this week, that please. And like I said, it is work that will go on in your final piece of coursework. So it's really important to, number 1, do it, and number 1, do it to the best of your ability. Thank you for watching. See you later, year 9.